Iran's Revolutionary Guard has also released a statement saying early this morning, that's Wednesday morning, Ismail Haniyeh's residence in Tehran was struck, resulting in the martyrdom of him and one of his bodyguards. It goes on to say the cause is under investigation and will be announced soon. Let's bring in Abbas Aslani. He's a senior research fellow at the Center for Middle East Strategic Studies. He joins us via Skype from the Iranian capital. Abbas, you're our first guest from Iran, so it's really good to get you now. I mean, how significant, from where you're sitting, is this assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, and how is this being viewed in Iran where you are, given the political changes, a new president?
Well, the significance relates to the official who has been assassinated, the quality of the assassination, and the place he was assassinated in, the capital city. And the context also is important because he was assassinated on just after the inauguration ceremony of Iranian president and meeting senior Iranian officials. At the moment that we speak, and escalation seems inevitable. On the same that new Iranian president was speaking of dialogue and engagement with the West, I think this is happening, and this can somehow, as some were predicting, could complicate the engagement process between Iran and the West. And Netanyahu doesn't want this to happen. We might be saying goodbye for now to the ceasefire because, this can escalate into a regional war. And the Israeli prime minister is trying to do everything in order to prolong his political life. He wants to somehow continue the war. And I think these are not just only meant to impact the processes in Tehran or in the region, but also in Washington as well. He wants to somehow impact the political campaign in the United States, maybe somehow undermining the Democrats and giving more chance to Donald Trump.
And how serious, Abbas, now is that threat of escalation, given that, as you say, it happened on Iranian soil? We know Iran isn't afraid to hit back at Israel. So how is Iran likely to respond then? Militarily?
Well, it's a bit early to talk about the quality and the type of the response, but I think a retaliation will be inevitable, and Iran has no choice but to respond to this action. But I think they will study and investigate that in what methods and how they can respond to this. As previously when Iran's embassy was targeted in Damascus, Iran responded directly to Israel. But it does not necessarily need to be the same way. But I think Iran will need to respond because this is happening in the capital city. And I think we will need some time to study that, what options are available and how Iran can respond in order to, to revive the deterrence. But for sure, Tehran has been insisting that it does not want a regional war. But it seems that Israel wants to push different parties into this war because they want to lengthen this process. And the point is that at a time that the U.S. government is on its, final months in the office, its restraining impact and influence on Israel is also decreasing. And this somehow increases the chance of an unpredictable scenario in the situation. However, an all-out war, a war which could include all the region is not something that Iran wants. But this is a scenario that Israel is pushing different parties, including Iran, to the side. But I think we have to be watching that what options are available that Iran can respond through. A regional war, is more likely than ever. We need to fasten our seatbelts. But we have to wait and see that, how this type of response could be, because yesterday we had an attack on Beirut later at night or early morning hours. this assassination happened. And I think this cycle of, actions and reactions might continue in the days to come. And it's important that what role other players like in the United States will be playing in this regard in order to contain the situation.
Abbas, let me ask you another question here. Do you think this will be seen as a failure by Iran's security services? I mean, they knew Haniyeh was a target. Israel made no secret that it wanted to take out Hamas's leadership. That actually happened. They killed him on Iranian soil. Did Iran's security services fail somewhere along the line here, given that he was assassinated?
For sure, what happened in Tehran was a bad thing for the Iranian security apparatus. And the point that Tehran might be feeling that Israel wants to undermine its deterrence, and that's why Iran will somehow feel that it has to respond to this. And I think at the time that Israel was somehow losing international support, or had some was in a difficult situation in order to prolong the war, Israel wants to change the rules of the game, and it wants to somehow change the deterrence balance against Tehran. So from this perspective, this is not a good news for the security apparatus in Tehran. And its positions or strategies when it comes to the regional, developments. That's why I think a retaliation or a response might be inevitable from Iranian side. But I'm not quite sure about the quality yet. I think it is yet to be determined. But this was also, from a security perspective, very significant for Iran.
Yeah, possibly a failure. Let me get a final thought from you then, Abbas, before you go. I mean, how is Iran viewing any hope for a ceasefire in Gaza? Because it's Gaza that's triggering all the other regional conflicts within the region.
Every time that there were efforts or negotiations for a ceasefire in the region, on the final hours or days of those negotiations, there was a pretext from the Israeli side that they wouldn't accept the ceasefire. It was, clear enough that Netanyahu didn't want a ceasefire. And by these actions and efforts, in order to escalate into a regional war, or at least, to a broader conflict in the region, which could have tensions that could make this war longer, it seems that Israelis do not want, this ceasefire. And from Iranian perspective, Netanyahu and Israel has been a major obstacle for achieving the ceasefire. And, by what happened yesterday and last night in Tehran, it seems, more clear and that Israel does not want a ceasefire. And we have to be seeing maybe this conflict going on in the weeks or months to come. This is not something that Tehran wants, but this is the thing that practically Israel tries to, make happen.
All right, Abbas Aslani, they're live for us in the Iranian capital with the reaction and analysis there from Iran. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.